it is time once again to talk about something that is completely originally from my head. Shadow Piece is original, but it's still building on top of One Piece. So I was wondering when will finally be the time where I do something that is completely my own thing. And here it is. Today I want to tell you about the first 3 chapters of my original story with the work in progress title, or maybe even the final title, There It's Always More to Learn. Just like the title says, there's always more to learn for myself, for you guys, and for the protagonist of the story. So I would just say, without much further talk, I just want to read the first 3 chapters to you so that you can get a good idea of what this story might be about and what can you expect for future chapters as well. So get yourself something to eat, to drink, and make yourself comfortable and listen to basically this audiobook of me talking. A magical world called Gaia, vast grassland, enormous mountain ranges, multiple oceans, and countless dense forests. Throughout all these different places, there are many races, but the world is mainly inhabited by 6 of them. Those 6 races are the humans, an intelligent and hardworking race. They live in many cities and villages and thus have high population. Because of their balanced way of life, the humans fill in many different roles. Just to name a few: researchers, adventurers, blacksmiths, and scholars. Then there are the beasts, a wild and strong race. They live in small packs, most of them travel through the world as nomads. Their appearances are as varied as the creatures they resemble. Most of them are warriors and hunters. Only a small portion of their people fulfill other roles. Next on the list are demons, with their innate affinity for magic. Their nation thrives on their mastery of the arcane arts, incorporating countless magical marvels into their daily lives. Yet, demons are not solely inventors. Many among them are formidable combatants, possessing skills that should not be underestimated. The elves are the guardians of nature. With their connection to nature spirits, they use a special variation of magic. At the age of 7, every elf binds itself with a spirit, thus deciding its future. Depending on the element that shows them, they will travel to different locations. Protecting the place they are linked with is the duty of an elf. Superb craftsmanship, regardless of whether it is forging or architecture. Dwarves can do it. Unlike every other race, the dwarves live only in 2 places in the world, split up into 2 factions. They are mostly known for their endurance and knowledge of the earth. And last but not least, the race with the biggest variation in appearance. Those are the so-called monsters. Every monster, be it goblins, orcs, kobolds, dragons, or slimes, are part of this race. Due to this fact, there isn't a specific place or nation the monsters live in. They are spread out throughout the entire world, with wide differences in intelligence, strength, and survivability. Despite all of this, monsters aren't necessarily evil. Humans, elves, and a part of the dwarves live in an alliance together. Likewise do the beasts, demons, and the other parts of the dwarves. Even if there are 2 different alliances, they don't wage war against each other. The world is at peace, and many new lives are coming to Gaia. The birds were chirping, and the weather was nice. No cloud was visible in the sky, while in a small village in an even smaller house, a woman was giving birth to a child. "Go on, sweetie, I believe in you," said a man standing next to the woman in the bed while he held her hand. The young married couple, especially the woman, were giving it their best to give birth to a healthy child. Struggling through the process, time went on, and everyone remained silent, watching and supporting the woman. Soon after the childbirth, the woman held the newborn child in her hands. She cried out of joy. A new life was born and the new family came together. Looking at her child with tears in the eyes, she asked her husband, "Nidar, what should we name our son?" Her voice was weaker than usual. Understandable, after all she just finished a process that still cost some people their life. "Do we need to decide that now, Linai? You probably are very exhausted. Deciding his name is a very important thing, so we should be in our best condition for it. Just concentrate on recovering for now." Nidar told her with a smile on his face and gives her a little peck on the cheek. Lanai began to smile as well and answered him, "You're right, there's still enough time till the naming ceremony, but we should choose the name rather quickly, otherwise my mom will try to push us into something she wants when she comes the day after tomorrow." They both laughed, knowing that this was indeed something her mother would do. Nidar then took their son, so that he could give him his first bath. His wife still lied on the bed, and shortly after her husband left the room, she fell asleep. After that, he went to the bathroom and started to clean his son very carefully. While he washed his arms, he said, "You know, little fella, when you're old enough, you're going to become a great swordsman. Your dad will train with you. I can see the potential in your eyes already." The next day, Linai and Nidar sat down together to talk about the name of their kid. "It should be something strong in my opinion," Nidar told his wife. Yes, but I also want it to sound gentle, because our son for sure will be a very caring person," she added to it. "Okay, then how about Salahi or Vlahi?" They suggested many names and discussed it for a whole day. The sun already set and both of them seemed tired once again. They looked at each other and grinned. "You know, Len, picking a name is definitely harder than slaying monsters." Both of them laughed about the statement. They sat there until deep into the night until they made their decision. "Nit, how about Ephus? It means that a person is inquisitive and bright in the language of magic." Linai gave her last suggestion with a sleepy voice and a yawn at the end. "Ephus, Ephus, Ephus." Nida repeated the name a few times in nods. "Yes, a nice name. The meaning of it in the language of swords would be brave and determined. I think it is a perfect name for our little boy." With these different meanings in their two respective languages, they were satisfied. A great name for the small child. Pleased with the outcome, they hugged each other intimately and kissed. After looking how Ephus was lying in his crib, sleeping peacefully, they also went to bed before another busy day was ahead of them. The following day. The day after they chose the name Ephus, Lenai's mom came to visit, so she could attend the naming ceremony. Nidar, who isn't on good terms with her, waited at the door for his mother-in-law. When she arrived, she pushed him her luggage in the arms and rushed to her newborn grandson. She opened the door to the room where Ephus slept in the crib. His family wasn't poor, but they also weren't wealthy. You could say they have enough to live, but not more. "Ah, you have arrived, mother. Come to me, but be quiet. Little Ephus just fell asleep," Linai said to her mother. She replied in a silent tone. "So have you recovered from the birth, Linai? And for when did you plan the ceremony?" Linai looked at her mother and gave her a sign that they should leave the room, so Ephus could sleep in peace and quiet. They walked outside and Linai started to talk. "Mother, I think I have already written all about the ceremony in a letter I sent to you. But just to refresh your memory, we plan to hold the naming ceremony in a month, so you can leave for the time being." "Is this the way you should talk to your own mother? I'm going to stay here, otherwise your barbarian husband could traumatize my cute little Ephus," Linai's mother said with an angry voice. Linai was very close to snap already, but she remained rather calm as not to wake up the newborn, and told her mother, "You have no right to talk about Nidar like that. He saved my life, and that more than once. He is the person I trust most. He was there to comfort me when Dad died. And what did you do? Well, you went into some bar and came back home completely drunk, only to make more problems for the family. You were a complete wreck back then. We only made it through that time because Nidar helped us with our finances. So just be quiet." Furious about the way her daughter talked to her, she trampled away and sat down in the kitchen. The time went by, and the day of the naming ceremony came. For Ephus, it was a day that wasn't any different from the others, but the adults were really excited. And he was just a baby that was 1 month old, so he didn't care about the tumult. And so he was carried to the altar by his mother. The priest took Ephus and began to talk. "Welcome, dear inhabitants of this small village. Today we have come together to hold the naming ceremony of Ephus. He's the son of a couple we know all too well, Linai and Nidar, the adventurers which came to us 3 years ago." After a little pause, the priest caught his breath and began to chant the ritual words. "In the future, this child shall be called Ephus. Everyone in this village will support him, teach him, and he will receive our blessings when there's any problem in his life." He continues to talk for another 10 minutes, and then the ceremony went on for another 30 minutes on top of that. When it was done, the guests went on to a restaurant and ate there together. It was a very busy night for all of the adults, but Ephus, well, he himself fell asleep quite early and slept well that night. Lesson 1. The basics. Since then, 2 years went by really quickly. Ephus is a fast learner, and just as his name says, he is curious about everything. He can walk perfectly, and speaking isn't a problem either. After the basics are done, Ephes discovers something great while exploring the house. Shelves filled with many thick books. He is so fascinated by the fact that there are collections of wisdom in his house. He takes one of them and runs to his mother. Then he says in his currently high-pitched voice, "Mommy, can you please read this out to me?" His mother was busy with washing the dishes, but when she looked down to see her small baby standing there with the biggest puppy eyes, how is anyone supposed to full out reject that? In her head, she screamed because of his cuteness. However, she didn't show it on her face. "Mommy still has some things to do." She walked up to a bookshelf and runs her finger over it. Then she pulls out a thin book. "Until then, you can read this. It's a picture book containing a popular fairy tale from my home country. You surely will like it." They start with learning the alphabet and then to pronounce the different letters. After Ephes got that part, he started writing short and easy pronounceable words. He practiced that for about a week and then got to a book his mother bought for him. It isn't as thick as the ones on the shelf, but it is perfect for a beginner like him. The pictures help him even more to grasp the content. It was a fairy tale about an adventurer who went on a journey. He met friends and fought many battles against monsters like slimes, skeletons, goblins, and the final fight was against a massive dragon. It was really entertaining, and Ephes started picturing himself all grown up, fighting against evil monsters together with his friends, protecting villages, and of course saving princesses. But even if the tale is interesting, Ephes wants to know more about the actual history of the country he is living in, and the way to fight with the sword. It may be a bit odd for a 2-year-old to be interested in these kind of things, but he was always special. The sword fighting thing has priority for him, because his dad also wants to start training as soon as possible. So Ephes tried every day to hold a wooden sword, but it was still too heavy for him at this age. In the following months, he read books more difficult than a fairy tale, history books or fighting strategy guides about monsters. Everything he is interested in just flows into his brain. His family is very proud of him, and the little money they have left after buying groceries, clothes, and everything else they need for life, they spend for new books Ephes wants. He is the most important part in their life, and as their first child, they just want to pamper him a little bit. Sometimes Nidar and Lanai leave the village and give Ephes to their neighbors. That is where Ephes met his first friend. He sits in the room of the little Hika. She is just 4 years older than Ephes, but she still feels the need to protect him and teach him new things like an older sister would. When Ephes yawns, Hika stands in front of him and started to talk in a prideful way. "Ephes, are you bored? Would you like to learn something new?" After hearing the phrase "learn something new," he suddenly is very energetic. It is like when a dog hears the word treat or walk. Now the boy can't wait for Hika to explain what she wants to teach him. She didn't think she would get this far, so now her improvisation skills are being tested. "You know, you have to be very kind and courteous if you talk to a girl, and even if you are only 2 years old, I know you are quite mature. In contrary to the boys of my age, they're all so stupid. So you should know that if you like a girl, you need to be even nicer to her," she said in a completely serious tone. Ephes doesn't know a girl he likes. Well, there is his mother, and she is a woman, but that isn't what Hika meant. At least that's what he thinks at the moment. But after hearing that, Ephes instantly started treating Hika a little bit better and helps her in many ways in the future. They play different games till the evening breaks in, and then Ephes is picked up by his parents. He says his goodbyes to Hika and goes home with his family. On the way home, Ephes tells his parents all the things he did today with Hika. But the day was very long, so as soon as they arrive at home, Ephes falls asleep. His father carries him to his bed, another day filled with lessons and learning. The following 2 years were peaceful. Ephes read many books. He learned mathematics and memorized every important event of the history books he can already read. Now that he is 4 years old, he can finally lift the wooden sword his father made for him. He starts his sword training now together with his dad. They walk to the garden and Nida begins the lesson. "So Ephes, I think you already know, but there are over hundreds of different sword paths you can follow. I myself decided to walk down the path of the flame sword, because your mother is a fire magician and I wanted to follow a similar path just to get a bit closer to her." He stops talking for a bit, but resumes after a little pause. "But I believe you need to be a little older to hear that story. I don't want to force my path on you, so we will practice the basics over and over and then you will choose your own path in the future." Ephes' father is a very strict instructor, but he doesn't want that his son overworks himself. So they start with something simple: 40 push-ups, 25 horizontal and 25 vertical strikes with his sword. They trained this way for 3 weeks. After that, they added 5 more repetitions to every step, and additionally Ephes started doing sit-ups. In that rhythm, Ephes' training schedule would increasingly get harder and harder, but his little muscles had more enough time to grow accustomed to the exercises. With these added training steps, Ephes continued his practice sessions for 3 months, without asking any questions, until his regiment reached 60 push-ups every day, 45 horizontal and vertical strikes every day, and finally 40 sit-ups. One day, Nidar approached his son and brings exciting news with him. "Ephes, today we are going to hunt in the forest. You know, the one in the west of our village? So get everything you need. We will leave in half an hour. Get ready." Ephes rushed in his house and takes the beginner's sword his father brought for him. He also takes something to eat and drink with him. When he had everything he needed, he went back outside again where Nida already was waiting. As they go to the forest, Ephes' father started to explain what they will do there. "So, my son, I will go into the deeper parts of the forest and hunt for our dinner. Meanwhile, you will stay at the mouth of the forest and fight against slimes or other relatively weaker monsters. They are herbivores, so the worst thing that could happen to you are some bruises, but as a warrior you will meet much bigger problems in the future." After a march of about half an hour, they arrive at the entrance of the Patona forest. Nidar goes deeper in and Ephes stays right there. He sits down on a rock and thinks about what to do. "I could walk down the edge of the forest and search for monsters, but Dad said there are only slimes in the outer parts of the forest. And I read that slimes are almost the weakest known monster in existence, so I'm not really interested in fighting them." Shortly after he finished his thought, a slime actually appears in front of him. Ephes isn't intimidated by that little slime, so he walks up to it and watches down at the gelatin body of his opponent. He pulls his sword out of the sheath and tries to strike through its body, but the slime dodges it with ease. Ephes tries again to hit the slime, but it avoids the strike again. Ephes continues trying to hit the slime over and over again. 10 strikes, 20 strikes, 50 strikes. After 50 strikes, he is completely out of breath. The slime doesn't have a face, but Ephes assumes that it is in some way currently mocking him. Ephes falls on the ground and faints. The slime, which saw their fight just as playing, is shocked that the boy collapsed. It quickly crawls the young human boy and covers his body in slimy liquid. 5 minutes pass and Ephes wakes up again. After recognizing what happened, he shoots up and looks around for a slime. As he reassures himself of his surroundings, he notices that his body is covered in something slimy. He assumes that this liquid was the reason for his speedy recovery. When he finally finds the slime camouflage next to the stone he set earlier on, he approaches it and starts to talk. "Hey slime, how can I say it? Thank you for your help? I thought that every monster would be dangerous, but you were pretty nice to me, so you can ask me any favor you want in the future. I mean, you could if you actually had the ability to talk or even understand what I say, but I just want to say that." Assuming the fact that monsters can't understand human language, Ephes is about to leave, but then the slime headbutts him in the leg with its soft body. Ephes is completely befuddled. His thoughts are filled with many contradictions. How can the slime understand me? I definitely read that monsters can't comprehend human language. He whispers to himself. The slime slithers in a direction and Ephes assumes that it wants him to follow. The lesson of stranger danger never came up, as everybody in the village was very close to each other. So the boy simply follows the creature, but he is still fully prepared to run away any second if the slime leads him into some sort of trap for the carnivores in the forest. They walk for about 4 minutes, and then Ephes and the slime arrived at a grassland with a cave in the middle. The area is filled with slimes. The only safe interpretation Ephes can think of is that this is the place where all of the slimes of the forest live. The slime he fought against earlier continues to walk in the direction of the cave. When the two of them arrive there, a big slime is in front of them, at least 4.5 meters tall, and with that 5 times as tall as Ephes is at the moment. A truly shocking monster for a 4-year-old, but with some trust in the little slime which led him here, he continues on. There he stands before the big slime. Silence. No noise is made, only the breathing of Ephes can be heard in the cave. The little slime crawls to the big one, and they seem to converse in some way. Another round of silence begins, but then the quiet room is broken by a voice that appears directly in Ephes' head. "Don't be scared, human. I myself am the Slime King, the leader of every slime in this region, the voice says. Ephus is confused, but the only thing he can think of is that the so-called Slime King has telepathic forces with which he can talk to other races besides monsters. Then Ephus gathers all his confidence and starts to talk. So, King Slime, why did this little slime lead me here? Is there like a problem I can help you with? The King Slime resumes the telepathic speech. My son here asked me just now if he could travel with you. That was a rather weird question. So the slime Ephus fought against asked his father, the King Slime, if he could go on an adventure with him? Ephus finds it difficult to concentrate in this situation. So the only thing he answers is that he isn't going on an adventure anytime soon, but if the time comes, he would surely accept the offer. Ephus doesn't know. He can't see it after all, but the king seems pleased with the answer, and adds something after the little slime talks to him again. My son asked me just now, if you can't take him with you right now, could you come and play here with him just as before? Just then, Ephus realizes that the fight he put all his strength in was just playing around for a slime. That was the moment he noticed just how much training he would have to complete till he would be as strong as his father. Because of that, he gladly accepted the offer of playing with the little slime. The wiggly slime bounces out of excitement that he now has a new playmate. The two kids walk or crawl out of the cave, and they take their stances and start to fight. The slime jumps at Ephus, but he can raise his sword in time to block the hit. The impact of the hit throws Ephus back. He quickly takes his stance once again, and strikes the slime while it still hasn't stabilized its body after the first attack. Ephus gets a clean hit on the slime. Both stand still. After some time, Ephus starts to smile. Then he says, Slime, let's do it like this. 1 hit equals 1 win. So the fight in the forest was your win, and this fight is my victory. The slime seems to understand what Ephus said just now, and jumps up and down to symbolize its approval. They continue to fight like this until the sun is setting. The result of the battles were 10 victories, 25 defeats, and 15 draws on Ephus' side. Both of them are lying completely exhausted on the ground. Sweat drops are running down Ephus' face, while steam rises from the body of the slimes. Apparently, slimes do not sweat like most other creatures do. Instead, steam comes from their body, evaporating a bit of their gelatinous fluids. The longer a slime is active, the smaller they grow, until they can recover through sleep or rain. Even if the two of them have just known each other for a few hours, they already have become fast friends on whom they can build on. It is late. I think I should leave for today, Slime. Ephus says a little bit sad about the fact that he has to go home, but he doesn't want to make his father and mother worry. However, before he can leave, a voice appears in his head once again, and it isn't the King Slime this time. Who is it? And what does this voice want from Ephus? Lesson 2. Magium. Who I am isn't of importance. No, you and the slime have just gained the ability to converse through your mind. It is a special gift from me just for you too. So feel free to try it. That is what the voice transfers into the head of Ephus. In this situation, there is nothing much Ephus can do besides believing the mysterious voice. So he tries to talk to the slime in his mind. Slime? Can you hear me? The slime jumps back. The confusion can be felt on his mind. Where did this voice come from? It was like telepathy from Dad, but the voice wasn't Dad's. Who are you? Seems the slime is just as dumbfounded as me. Ephus thinks. Then he begins to talk in his head calmly. Slime, calm down. It's me, Ephus. A weird voice just talked to me and said that we two have gained the ability to converse through our minds. I think just calling you Slime all the time is a little bit annoying. So how about I give you a name? The slime's mind voice is filled with joy as it answers Ephus. You want to give me a name? Oh yes, but make it a cool one. Ephus starts to think a bit about the name selection before telling his new friend. There are so many names to choose from, but there is one which left a big impact in Ephus' memory when he first read it. It is the name of Obu. The name appeared in the fairy tale Ephus read 2 years ago, and it belonged to the partner of an adventurer who traveled across the world and saved many countries. Obu was the first member of that adventurer's team, so it is very fitting considering their connection to each other. Ephus then connects their mind again and says, Slime, your name is Obu from now on. I hope you like it. Ooh, that's a great name. Thank you, Ephus. Obu replies to him excitedly as he bounces up and down. After the naming, Ephus says his goodbye and goes to the north of the forest again, where his father is already waiting. As Ephus walks to him, his father starts waving his hand and yelling towards him. Ephes, where were you? I was worried about you. You better explain everything on the way, but let's get back fast. Otherwise I will get a talking from your mom later, and you know how she is when she gets angry. Ephes chuckles, and on the trip back he tells his dad about everything that he did on that day. Dad, the day was so exciting. At first I thought it would be boring, but then I encountered a slime. I thought they were really weak, so I overestimated my strength at first and lost my first fight against it. Nidar smiles and answers Ephes. So you learned that even the weakest monster is strong. With that, you know what a long way you still have before you. Ephes takes these words in and continues his story. But you know, I believe that slimes aren't as weak as we think. I've fought about 50 battles with one slime, and that one learned with every fight, just like me. I think they have great potential. Ephes' dad laughs and then replies to his son. So you think that slimes have potential? That is an interesting thesis you have there. And it isn't actually the first time I heard somebody say that. If you can actually prove it in some sort of way, you can make our family really rich. So work on it, my son. He finishes his sentence and pats Ephes' head. After a little conversation is finished, they arrive at their home. Lena already stands at the door, waiting for her husband and her son, with a rolling pin in her hand. When they are before her, she hugs Ephes and confirms if he has any injuries on his body, while constantly giving a side eye to her husband. After taking a bath and eating the bear Nidar hunted this day for dinner, Ephes goes to his room, and a few minutes later he already fell asleep. His exhaustion is probably the reason for this. Also, it is quite nice that we don't need to tell him to go to sleep because he forgets the time while reading, Lena says to her husband jokingly. The two of them sit in the kitchen and talk a while about the progress Ephes did make in the last months. Nidar tells his wife that he has shown great improvements in the sword fighting training and will probably continue to improve just as fast. Lena adds to the things Nidar said that Ephes also showed promise in etiquette, so he will be a very good boy. Their son really is a genius, but that is something many parents think of their children. It's great that Ephes is so independent, but sometimes I wish he would rely on us a bit more. Nidar looks deep into the eyes of his wife, proud but also a bit disappointed. He wanted to show his strong points more to his child. Well? Lena stands up from her chair and sits down on the lap of her partner. Perhaps there will be a chance in the foreseeable future. She smiles, knowing a bit more than her husband about the current situation of their family. The sun dawns and Ephes wakes up. He walks down the stairs and sits down on a chair in the kitchen. His mother prepared the breakfast for him already, and he quickly eats it. After that, he goes to the garden and starts his solo training. The boy begins with the basic training, and after he finished it, he wants to learn a technique he thought of while battling Obu yesterday. He places a tree trunk about a meter in front of himself and tries something, taking a stance where his body is leaning backwards and his legs are bent, while he stretches his sword in front of him. Then he concentrates and begins to feel the breeze which is currently blowing around him. His father looks outside the window while eating some eggs and thinks that his son just took a pose which he believed to look cool, but he didn't think it was training for a completely new technique. He just stands there and breathes deeply. He adjusts his breathing rhythm to that of the breeze. When he is perfectly in sync with it, he quickly switches the position of his feet, but that isn't everything that happens. As he does that, he also switches his position with that of the tree trunk. His father jumps up from the chair he was sitting on and drops the plate he was holding onto the ground, instantly running outside. As Nidar arrives, he asks his son what he did just now. Ephes himself is just as surprised as his father, but he explains what he thought. Dad, I tried to create a new technique, so I wrote down some notes before I started training today. I realized that if I am in complete sync with the wind around me, then I can feel any object which stands in the path of the wind. Nidar is already enthusiastic about the words his son said just now, but the part where he switches his place with the object he feels wasn't mentioned by him yet. Ephes finishes his breather and resumes to talk. The part where I switch places with the object I felt in step 1 is the exciting part here. So it is just that I feel some kind of energy in these objects, even if it is a lifeless thing. Inside of it is still some sort of energy. His father falls into his words and says, the energy you mentioned, that is magium, which is in everything, and it is not from importance if the thing is alive or lifeless. Everything has some sort of magium inside of itself. The little boy began to smile because his dad explained something he hadn't known before. But Ephes quickly gets back to the point and tells his dad, So this magium is the energy I felt? Okay, then I think I transferred my magium to the log till it had the same amount of energy my body has normally. Because I transferred my energy to the trunk, my body has as much magium as the tree before it got mine. We just switched our energy levels. And then the world thought that I am the log and the log is me. So it switched our positions. Nidar is speechless. To think that his own son developed a technique where he tricks the very rules of the world? The last thing Apis adds is that this technique would be much easier if he would have known about magic already. And after that, he continues to practice it for another 2 hours. Once he is done with his training, he runs to his father, who is also swinging his sword, and asks him if he could go to the forest to fight against some monsters. Nidar is very proud of his son right now. Not only because he made a self-developed technique, but also because of his high motivation of wanting to improve. That's why he let him go. The only thing that Nidar said to Apis is that he should be back around the afternoon. As soon as the boy heard that, he went straight to the Patona forest. He walks for about half an hour till he reaches the woods. Obu already awaits him there. They greet each other through the telepathic communication. Then they walk and crawl to the slime fields. The first thing they do after arriving at the grassland is to continue their fights from yesterday. Apis takes his self-carved sword out of the sheath and attacks Obu with a pierce attack. The slime dodges the attack skillfully by compressing its liquid body to a tinier form. Once he made it through the attack, he jumps at Apis. Apis expected something like this and uses his new technique. He switches his position with that of Obu. The slime can't orient itself for a moment and loses because of a surprise attack Apis lands on him in that moment. Obu is amazed by what just happened and asks Apis, "What did you do? At first you were so quiet and then there was some kind of whoosh and then you switched places with me. What was that? I want to know." Apis answered the question of his friend. "That was my self-developed technique. I call it switch. With that technique it is possible to switch my position with the one of some other object or living thing. The only real condition is that the person or thing I want to switch with has less magium than I." Obu is impressed with the technique Apis developed, but that isn't the reason why he shouldn't fight against him anymore. They continue their fights, and a few hours later, Apis' score is now 20 victories, 27 defeats, and 20 draws. He really improved a lot over just a single day. They talk for some time about what to do the next time they can meet up. Their discussion ends with the conclusion that they will continue their practice for some time, and when they think that they are strong enough, then they will go into the deeper parts of the forest. From now on, they will meet basically every day to practice together, and that went on for an entire month. "Apis, where are you going to?" his mother asks him in an almost song-like fashion as he tries to sneak out of the door. He is a little startled that his mother noticed him, but you can't forget that before he was born, his mother was a well-trained magician. So even after 4.5 years, the overuse skill is something she can use with ease. Apis also knows that his mother can see through all of his lies, so she can't be fooled by him, unlike his father. So he puts on the sweetest face he can make and questions her. "Mommy, I want to meet a friend of mine. After we train for a month together, we want to go deeper into the forest and compare our fighting level with that of the monsters there. So could you please allow me to prepare a plan with him and stay overnight in the Patona forest?" Linai pulls her eyebrow up and just adds another question. "Who is this friend you're talking about? Have I met him before?" That Apis has met someone he calls a friend, even if all he does is study, train, or going to the forest for more training, surprised his mother. The only person she could think of he has met would be some sort of adventurer who stays in the forest, and staying with some random adult is not to her liking. Apis gets a bit nervous and twirls around his foot around the floor, but then asks his mom, "Can you promise me not to scream?" The woman is confused. Who could it be that Apis is afraid that she would scream? But she nods and says, "I promise, sweetheart." Apis then goes near his mother and tells her quietly, "It is Obu. My friend is called Obu, and he's a slime. But there's no need to be afraid. He is friendly. And so is his family. You know, I met this giant slime, which called itself the King Slime, and they were all very nice to me." His mother makes big eyes and stops washing the dishes. She bends herself down to Apis' height and replies as quiet as Apis talked before to her. "So you have already met him, huh? I thought that I could surprise you when I would introduce you to a slime, but as the mother, so the son. You can go. The only thing I want you to promise is that if any problems occur, you just run, okay? Don't make any troubles for King, understood?" Apis is left incredibly perplexed. The only thing he can bring out is, "I promise." The fact that his mom knows the Slime King is just too amazing for him to grasp. How did they meet, and what other secrets do his parents have? He takes some food and something to drink and goes on the way to the forest where his first adventure is going to take place. Lesson 3. Hunting. As Ephes walks to the forest, he begins once again to realize that his mother knows the Slime King. His interest in getting to know the story how they met is immense. But first, other things have to happen. On his way, he starts to think about a plan how they should handle the monster in the deeper parts of the forest. His father told him that the monsters you could find in the Petona forest are slime, wolves, and bears. And if you're lucky, you might even catch a glimpse of a water spirit. Out of these 4 monsters, the bear is the most dangerous one, Ephes thinks. The water spirit is a peaceful monster, and if it likes the person it meets, it can even upgrade his affinity to water magic. Ephes believes that meeting the spirit would be great for Obu and him. To the boy who wants to be a magician, it is a great chance to improve his affinity to one of the core elements. And if Obu strives to top his father in every imaginable point, as he told Ephes, then it is a grand opportunity for him as well. So he plans that the 2 of them search for the water spirit in the forest. As Ephes thinks about what they are going to do, he arrives at the slime field. He looks around, but doesn't see any slimes jumping around. He is slightly scared that some crazy strong monster could have invaded the field and killed every slime, but nah, the Slime King is way too strong. There isn't a way that a monster stronger than him lives here in the forest. Inside the cave, all slimes are gathered, and they surround Obu. While he is in that situation, the Slime King just watches him. Ephes is about to get angry because ganging up on anybody is shameless, and it is even worse when it is against a friend of him. He wants to engage there, but something doesn't let him go inside. Why can't he go? His friend is there, but he can't move. He punches himself in the back to get a boost, but his body just won't move. Then he notices that his hits didn't connect. He was blocked by a piece of earth. What is going on here? Ephes, please stay outside for a bit. My son wants to test his own strength, so he asked if he could fight against every other slime. The King Slime clarifies the situation to Ephes so that he won't be worried anymore. As he looks more closely to Obu, he sees the serious face Obu makes when going all out. Even if slimes don't have faces, Ephes can feel something like that. Obu stands there in the middle of the pack, awaiting their attacks. The first one jumps at him with full speed. Ephes estimates the speed at around 8 km per hour. Not that fast, but at close range still a problem to deal with. Obu then compresses himself, just like in the fight against his human rival. He dives under the attack and then makes his move against his fellow slime. Obu lands the hit and the other slime flies through the cave. After the first one was eliminated, the others jump all together at Obu. He evades the massacre which would have been waiting for him down there. The slime pack looks upwards where Obu is after jumping. As they try to jump at Obu, he counters their attack one after the other. A few seconds later, the slimes were overwhelmed by the strength Obu gained in the last few months. The fight is over, and Ephes regained the control over his own body. He walks inside the cave and greets Obu, a bit embarrassed about his reaction earlier. Obu is taken by surprise, because he thought that his friend would only arrive in the afternoon, but he pretends that he already waited for Ephes. Obu wants to surprise him in their next fight. The blue-haired boy notices the nervousness emanating from Obu, so he plays the situation off and puts down his belongings. Then the Slime King asks Ephes something. My boy, as an old friend of your mother, I have a sense of responsibility for you, so please take this. The Slime King squeezes an amulet out of his body and pops it straight into Ephes' hand. Not only did the Slime King confirm his connection to his mom, but he also gave the human a present. Ephes looks at the amulet and sees an ancient symbol on it, but he can't interpret the meaning of it. It's some sort of language he has never seen before. Obu's father adds that he has found this artifact in a dungeon when he was young. As he analyzed the effect of it, it came out to be a charm that can protect you or a nearby friend from a life-threatening situation. The boy happily accepts the present and puts it as a necklace around his neck. He senses a vortex of energy coming from the amulet, but he can't look inside it. Normally, Ephes would deal with this problem till he solves it, but today he needs to get as much training done as possible, together with Obu, so they can improve their strength and coordination for tomorrow. Just like always, the 2 of them walk outside the cave and start their 68 fight. They take their stance and the battle begins. Obu begins with a charge attack, which is parried by Ephes' sword. The recoil from the attack lets both of them spring back. They analyze the situation, and when Ephes realizes an opportunity, he runs towards Obu. As his sword can reach him, he makes a combo attack with vertical and horizontal strikes, but Obu dodges it smoothly with his freely controllable body. As the slime gathers his composure back, he begins to chant something, even though he is not actually able to talk. Aphis waits till he sees that a magical circle is forming itself before Obu's body. Because of the position Aphis got himself in, he rethinks his tactic and awaits the magic attack from Obu. The blue slime channels his magium, and the before grey circle now becomes a red-colored one. As a book Aphis once read said that red is the color of fire, he prepares for a fireball or something like that. A few seconds later, the writing on the circle begins to rotate. Soon after that, an enormous red shine comes from Obu, and before Aphis can even realize that his opponent only shot a little fireball, he switches their positions. The feint threw Aphis's written completely off, but Obu remained focused and turned around, so that he looks at Aphis again, and then shoots the real fireball. The boy can dodge, and so is hit by the attack. The fireball may seem fierce, but the temperature of it was jokingly low. It only made Aphis a bit sweaty. Still, if this would be a real battle and the fireball would have come from an experienced magician, it would be his death. Calmed down after the shock of seeing a gigantic fireball coming straight at him, he firstly sits down. His friend jumps to him and asks, "Aphis, are you alright? Even I have not expected something huge like that." A few breaths later, Aphis got himself to be calm again, and then answered his friend. "I'm fine. It was just really surprising that you made such a big attack." The slime is more confident now because he made something that great. They continue to fight for hours, and when the sun goes down, they go back inside the cave. The Slime King prepares some vegetable for them to eat, and even if Aphis brought something to eat from home, he accepts the dinner Obu's father prepared for him. It is only the right thing to do. The food in the cave isn't served on plates like at Aphis's home. Instead, they eat on stone slabs the king created with his earth magic. Also, the etiquette Aphis learned with his mother aren't in effect here, because the slimes just crawl over their dinner and then absorb it inside of their bodies. He just takes the vegetables with his hands and at first only nibbles at them, but after noticing how delicious they really are, he begins to take big bites. When his slab is empty, his stomach is filled and tiredness overcomes him. He lays down on a bed made out of hay, and shortly after he falls asleep. His first night not spent in Lefaria. His heart is beating fast, but tomorrow is only going to be more exciting. The next day breaks. Aphis and Obu get up. The human grabs his backpack and is about to go into the deeper parts of the forest. But Obu stops him and asks if he can put some of the herbs they ate yesterday in his bag. With the thought that they are very filling and taste great as well, he grabs some of them and after that they go on their adventure. As they walk through the forest, the trees become denser. Aphis and Obu talk a bit so that there won't be silence, because silence is the worst possible thing to happen on an adventure. They go deeper and deeper, and soon they hear a rustle in the bushes beside them. Both go in their usual fighting stances, but they have never thought that would happen to them. A wolf, around 2.5 meters in size, shoots out of the bushes. It is incredibly fast. They can barely dodge the first attack. Aphis pulls his sword out of the sheath and looks over to his partner. Obu understands what Aphis means, and they run towards the wolf. While the two of them run, they cross sides, which confuses the wolf, but it sees Aphis as the bigger threat of the two, so it focuses on him. The excited boy notices this and continues to run, but as he jumps to a slash attack and Obu to a full power headbutt, he switches their positions with his switch technique. Because the wolf wanted to bite Aphis through the upper body, the much smaller slime brings the attack to miss its targets. The bite may not have hit one of them, but the impact still was sensible in the air. Even Obu with his physical absorption skill would have suffered quite a lot of damage from that. That may be the case, but they also have to see the positive. They landed a good hit. A powerful headbutt and a slash through his side seemed like something that would for sure hurt. They think so. And yet the wolf just seemed to be more aggressive, not even a little bit weakened. Obu makes Aphis alert that the fight continues, and that this isn't like their training, which end after one clean hit. This is a fight between life and death. The crossing path tactic seemed to work at their first attempt, so they continue to use it, but this time without switching their places in the end. And again, both of them land their hits. Obu headbutts the exact point where Aphis slashed before, and Aphis slashes the point Obu headbutted. The blood loss out of the wounds increase, and the wolf shows first signs of fear. It just now noticed that its own life stands on the line as well. But who would have thought that a human child and a slime could be strong foes? So now, what the two of them didn't expect, the wolf begins to fight for real. Before it just stood there, now it charges at them. They prepare to dodge, but the wolf stops shortly before them and uses its skill, frightening bellow. The body of both Aphis and Obu are paralyzed from fear. They can't move, not even a centimeter. Then the wolf attacks them with its claws and lands a clean hit on both of them. They fly through the air because of the impact and land in a nearby pond. The human and the slime got defeated. The last thing Aphis sees before falling completely unconscious is glitter falling down on him and his partner. And this is the end of the first 3 chapters of There Is Always More to Learn. I hope you enjoyed it, and maybe already look forward to future chapters of it as well. I won't be continuing this anytime before 2024 because I'm just that busy, but I wanted to share these 3 chapters with you already. So please tell me your opinions in the comments down below. I would really appreciate some feedback. But that's all from me for today. All that's left to be said is stay happy, stay healthy, and most importantly, stay cultured. Pyro, out. Bye!